Joyce Biethan. I'm a CNWI, which stands for Certified Nosework Instructor. And Nosework, well, I guess actually, and I've been a dog trainer for about 17 years, doing behavior and classes and all that stuff. So,
Kristina, Leipzig. I'm also a canine nosework instructor, and I've been in various different dog sports, including agility, shits and obedience, rally, in the last 13 years in some service dog work.
and we're passionate about canine nosework.
Kidding.
Yeah.
All right. So what is it?
It is the sport of scent detection, or really an activity of scent detection. Certainly, you don't have to compete with your dog to enjoy canine nosework, but basically the dogs work like contraband dogs, drug dogs, sort of bomb dogs. They look for birch, anise, and clove instead of meth, marijuana, and cocaine, is what I usually tell people. And that's, the kind of searches they do are rooms, like we're gonna turn our dogs loose one at a time in here, and there's some hides already out there. And defined exterior areas, the outside of vehicles, and containers like purses, backpacks, suitcases, boxes, those kinds of things.
Then basically there was a movie here, but I think everybody's gonna get access to the PowerPoint, and we'll have a movie in that.
Yeah.
We'll get that up as probably the next day.
Which is a demo, but you're gonna see the dogs work anyway at the end, so.
Yeah. One of the things I like about canine nosework is that it's the easiest sport for the human end of the leash, because every time I tweak my body in agility, my dog's gonna do something. And there's a lot of training of the dog involved in, obedience, agility, those kind of things. We typically tell our students, leave your obedience on the other side of the door when you come in, because we want our dogs to be what's called obedient to odor. So, like, the most important thing in the world is get to the odor. The sport was actually developed by 3 professional canine handlers and trainers in Southern California, and they started training. They understood the value for the dog of the sport, or of the activity of scent detection. And so they started teaching classes at the SPCA in one of them, someplace in Southern California. And people were coming to class and having a great time with their dogs. And some of those people were like agility competitors and obedience competitors. And they were working some of the shelter dogs. And a couple of agility competitors said, you ought to make this a sport that dogs can compete at. And basically the competitions were spawned from there. That's pretty much how it got started. They started in about 2006. In 2009, they had the first competition, and I think there were 6 or 7 competitions that year. In 2012, there was 80 trials, and an uncountable number. I mean, we could count it, but there were hundreds of trials this year, and this sport is like taking over the whole country. And really, what we're here to talk to you about is really not even so much the sport, except to give you guys a background. But canine nosework is fabulous for the dogs. It really is about the dogs. It's not about the people. And it's a huge confidence builder. A little later, I'm going to talk about programs at Oregon Humane Society and Humane Society of Southwest Washington that I got started, and kind of what some of the really positive consequences of those have been.
And also, so there's the sport of canine nosework, and then there's also the competition. And the competition's open to everybody, so of any style of training. So you can have scent work that you train for your own dog, and then you pair it with the odors that they use for the trial, and then you're good to go. So we're trained through the National Association of Canine Scent Work. They're an organization that trains certified nosework instructors. But you can come from other areas like search and rescue, canine detection, even like police force or military training, and also do scent work with your dog. So there's different methods and ways of doing it. This particular method is kind of made for any dog. So we kind of gear it towards building a lot of confidence in the dogs, giving the dog a job. So a lot of your shelter or pet dogs or things like that, where they just don't have anything, you just want something your dog to do. You want to have fun, and you don't have to buy, $5,000 worth of equipment to do it. You just want to come somewhere in the city, like this place right here, and come and do nose work. And that's what this sport has given us, the ability to do that. You can practice at home, you can practice in the rain, you can go to your friend's house and practice. anything like that.
And one of the advantages is for most dogs, at the end of, doing, maybe 3 different searches, typically in a class or when I'm practicing at home, I'll bring the dog out, I will set some odors out, the dog goes and finds them, I put the dog away, maybe I set up another set of hides. After 2 or 3 rounds like that, Fido's asleep on the couch or the dog bed or whatever. It's very tiring for the dog, which is a real bonus on pouring down rain days like today, where I was teaching out in the pouring down rain. But it's a great activity to stimulate the mental aspect of the dog. Physically, I would say it's somewhat. There is an element of exercise in it that the dogs are, the rib, once they get in odor, what we call in odor, like they got a sense of the birch, they're really sniffing, rib cage is moving in and out. My own theory is that that's a lot of activity for the dog that they're not used to doing so intensely, at least most of our dogs. But the exhaustive quality of mental stimulation is totally underrated in dogdom, is one of my little sort of Joyceisms, and that's definitely true for canine nosework. There are not very many people in my classes that don't say, wow, my dog was really tired after that. Also, reactive dogs can play. Dogs that are, I actually started in canine nosework because I had a Belgian sheepdog who was going to be the, my not so humble approach was that he was going to be the Belgian Sheepdog Club of America everything, And well, he was dog reactive. I mean, really dog reactive, not just on the leash. And we didn't get to play anything, pretty much. I found an agility barn that was totally fenced and we could work in there, but it was still a lot of work. But nosework he could do because he didn't have to see any other dogs. So really great from that standpoint.
So how is this sport different than other dog sports? One is we do work one dog at a time, so it's whether your dog is in a crate or in the car. A lot of people just use the crate in the car or something, where we have our dogs in the car. We're going to bring them out one at a time, and then there's no distractions. So there's no distractions as in other dogs there. Even if the dog is really, really friendly, they're going to want to play with Fluffy. But it's just, then they're not doing what they're focused to do. They're worried about Fluffy and wanting to play with that dog. So this gives them kind of the mindset, just focus on your task, don't have to worry about anything else, and then you can just do this job. Also, reactive dogs can play, so they can come in and feel comfortable so that they don't have to worry about Fluffy. They don't have to worry about somebody behind them or hearing other dogs, or we have some dogs that just the dog tags will start setting them off and they'll bark and look around and things like that.
And one of the other things that happens as a result of canine nosework and the focus that they have in the scent work, because they're doing a really natural activity. They're not, running up and down an A-frame is not a natural activity for the dog. Weed pull's not a natural activity. Using their nose is a very natural activity, although, for the most part, I would say that our dogs, we can all say, my dog's got a great nose, and they do. They far surpass our ability to smell anything. What they don't have and what they do learn in canine nosework is how to get to the source. So the odors on a Q-tip, we'll talk probably a little bit more about that later, but basically the Q-tip is what gets hidden. We have a way of making that important, but say I put a cookie out, my dog might smell a cookie, but are all your dogs going to be able to just go get to it? No. Like I smell, the dog is, I smell, roast beef, but where is it? So in the sport of canine nosework, they really learn how to get to it. I own a dog who I found, and she didn't know how to do some sourcing of scent because she was a poop eater. She had to learn how. She had at some point she'd learned to get to that, but that's not typical of most of our dogs, thank heavens. So and she, of course, there was a lot more things she needed to learn about nosework.
So also, this is pretty much your equipment here.
Yeah.
So you have some Q-tips. You don't have to have a fancy kit. You can have just a plastic box. And then we get little containers. Your containers don't have to be anything else. It's very fancy. You can just get little containers like this. Sometimes the dollar store is really nice. Or Altoid containers were really, really
straws, pen caps.
Straws.
When I'm walking in the park, I'll see things on the, I could put an odor in that, so all different kinds of
anything
things
pretty much walking around.
Right. It's also really hard to mess up canine nosework. It's just hard to mess it up. So, especially at the basic level. We're going to kind of take you through the sequence of how dogs get started, but it's really hard to screw it up.
So who can play? Pretty much anybody. You can have old dogs, blind dogs, deaf dogs, three-legged dogs, dogs in carts, anybody really, reactive dogs. Now we don't really want people reactive dogs because you're in a class with other people, so that's a little harder. But dog reactive dogs usually do fine, even some that are pretty severely reactive can do fine. And you'll see sometimes as that reactivity will start to go down.
Definitely. I can remember the first time with my my guy Ryder, and we were doing our first vehicle search, and we were in this parking lot area. And there's usually like a run order, you know who you're going to follow and who follows you. And we're out there and we're doing this car search, and I glance back, and there's somebody about 30 feet behind me with a boxer. Well, boxers are inherently fierce looking anyway, as sweet as they usually are. And I just kind of went, oh no. And my dog just kept searching the car. He got his rewards. We left the area, moving in a different direction, but it just wasn't a big deal because he was so focused on finding his reward. One of the things about canine nose work, as it is also in professional detection, the dogs are always rewarded. In fact, if you're in a competition and you fail to reward your dog, you are faulted. It's win-win-win for the dog.
We get a lot of dogs that have been previously in other dog activities like agility or obedience or herding, some really active sports, dogs that get injured. We've had dogs come back a week later after a double ACL surgery and start just back in training class. So it's really physically not super demanding. They don't have to run around, make tight turns and things like that. So it's a nice complement sport, especially if there's an injury or if your dog is just older and they can't play agility anymore. They just play it every once in a while, but it gives them something to do because they're going to start eating your couch if you don't do anything.
I have two dogs with me. I have two dogs, and one of them is 16 and a half years old, and I think I should search with him today too because he's 16 and a half, and he don't hear so good, and he don't see so good, but and actually that nose is always sniffing something. And when I go to the park, I have to leash him because his nose will get stuck in something, and it'd be ceiling, and then he'll look up. It's like I can't see her really very well. He'll run to any person standing. So I walk him a lot of the time on a retractable leash just so I don't lose him, because his nose gets engaged in whatever it is that's interesting to him. So, go ahead and talk about the shelters?
Yes.
Okay, so a big reason we're doing this presentation today is to tell you a little bit about the rehabilitative aspect and the energy-consuming aspect of canine nose work. A couple of years ago, I had a student who was a really active volunteer at Oregon Humane Society. She ended up being my foot in the door to go in there, and they have a really strong volunteer program. So I went in and I trained, a dozen volunteers, did a couple successive sessions, and basically those volunteers were then able to take off and do basic canine nose work. It's very high tech, particularly in the beginning. The dogs are looking for food in cardboard boxes. So there's a bunch of cardboard boxes out on the floor. One of them's got food in them. There's an instructor that's maybe kind of doing something to kind of attract the dog into the area, and then it's just follow your dog around, let him go, sniff and sniff until he happens upon the box that has the cookies in it. And progressive sessions, they get better and better. In the beginning, they're kind of like, there's a box I'll go look at. There's a box I'll go look at. There's a box I'll go look at. And a week or two down the road, they're headed to this box here, and then they go, wait a minute, I smell odor over here, and they go over to the odor, and that's how they begin to really be able to get to the source of the scent. So anyway, I started this program at Oregon Humane Society, and then I was approached by somebody at Humane Society of Southwest Washington, and I love what we did there because what we did is we offered a class, and they also have a volunteer group there. So we offered a class. We had people from the community come in, and they paid to have their dogs in class, and then volunteers worked shelter dogs in class, and they didn't have to pay. And a couple of things happened. One, I'm a professional trainer, and I got paid, which was really great. I volunteered at Oregon Humane, and that was fine. But I got paid, and 3 weeks into the class, and we were targeting long-term dogs, by the way, and Humane Society of Southwest Washington is an open access shelter, so unless the dog is absolutely not adoptable, they will take the dog. So they do get some long-term dogs in there, and you know, we targeted those dogs. Well, week 3, it's like, what happened to Joey? What happened to Sam? They got adopted. The same thing happened at Oregon Humane. The dogs just, once they started in canine nosework, they flew out of the shelter adopted. By the time we got to the end of the 6-week session at Southwest, we had to replace dogs again. Only one of the 6 dogs we started with didn't get adopted in the first 6 weeks of canine nosework. So it just, and the volunteers really see it. The dogs, because they're out, they're doing this stimulating activity, they're just able to relax and be so much more calm in the shelters. And somehow people, you know, potential adopters really see that as well. So, so both of those programs are basically functioning independently now, and it's at Southwest, they have figured out, they you know, because the dogs are often far away in the kennels, it's a long hike to get them there when you're bringing them in one at a time and that kind of thing. They've figured out this rotation system. They're able to work 15 dogs in 2 hours. It's amazing. So they're just really seeing the differences in the dogs. If anybody needs a research project, somebody really needs to do a research project on like what are the variables and what is happening here that these dogs are getting adopted. You know, kind of more specifically than gosh, they're flying out of here.
And for people who adopt dogs, it's a really nice sport for bonding of the dog. I've had a couple dogs change allegiance in the household where they're the husband's dog, and then the wife takes him to class every week, and then that dog has pretty much become the wife's dog. And he's like, what did you do to my dog? She's just going to class and things like that. So it's really great for bonding for that, and now she just actually follows her around the house. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's also really good for sharing. Like I have couples, and you know, I typically in an hour and a half class, everybody will get 3 rounds where okay, dog comes out, you know, finds his hides, goes back to the car, the next dog comes out, etc. So they get three times out, and you know, mom will work the dog the first time, then dad the second time, and then mom the third time. So and the dog can work equally as well with both partners, which doesn't happen in agility and those kind of things typically. Yeah.
How young can you start puppies with this activity?
Guess how they find the milk spout?
That's why I wondered.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I've started puppies as young as 8 and 10 weeks.
Oh,
I've
Yeah.
started them as young as 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems
Yeah.
like it'd be a good
So-
activity.
Oh yeah, yeah. And those dogs, I mean, they're really on the
Amazing.
The dogs that learn at that age to get to source, holy cow.
Yeah, nothing will stop them. Actually, the one we started at 5 weeks, she broke out of her crate in the car and ran to the boxes. Because she wanted the boxes so bad. That was her at about 12 weeks. She was a pretty spitzy puppy. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And the puppies are nice because they don't have a ton of baggage. No, we call it handler cues. So a lot of cues from the handler, like those Oach dogs and those mock dogs, those championship dogs, and those really handler cue dogs are sometimes more difficult to start because they keep waiting for the handler to do something to tell me what to do. No, you just do it on your own.
Dog after dog comes into class, and either the dog says, "I can't put my head in that box," or the handler says, "My dog's never going to put their head in a box to get a cookie." And that week or the next week, those dogs are pushing boxes around. They're pushing one box over the top, off the top of another box. And you know, one of the things we haven't really talked about is that they start looking for food, but dogs, you know, if you needed to say in 10 words or less how dogs learn, they learn by association. Okay, so if I have a dog that can get to the source of the cookie, and then I put the cookie with the tin that has birch in it, guess what? Fido's going to find the cookie. His little brain's going to go, there's kind of a novel scent here. If that cookie is always paired with the novel scent, pretty soon that novel scent itself is important, because cookies always come with it. And it's called pairing when there's a cookie with it, but then we come in and add more. So it's a big jackpot. Yeah.
So I have a dog that I got a couple months ago, and I have a job where he comes with me into people's homes, And I have kind of a firm rule about nose up. I don't want him sniffing other people, you know, in people's homes, lifting his leg. How do you keep him from to do this and still be obedient in those kind of environments? How do they
Context.
separate it? Okay.
Context, what Kelly talked about.
Okay.
Really, it's the typically a different halter, maybe a different leash, a different
change.
environment.
We have dogs that do Tuesday they do obedience in the room, and Wednesday they nose work in the room. So what do you do if it's a 5-month-old puppy kind of a thing? And so then I really stress equipment change. If it's an older dog and they're like 8 or 9 years old, they kind of know.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell them as much, but the equipment is for us. It gets us into that mode. It gets us visualizing what the game is. It gets us into basically what we're going to do. And that just travels down the leash and goes to your dog. So if you need the equipment, or you think your dog needs the equipment, then you probably need the equipment, and it's nice to do that. I do that with my dog. We do it mainly for drive and pulling. We use a harness, so he can pull and drive in the harness, because they start to build a lot of drive to get to where they want to go. And a lot of times we'll work him off leash, but when we work him on leash, I want him to just go to it. I want him to say, no, you're wrong, I'm going to go to it.
Yeah, when we first start, that you'll think that we often, like, this is the box, Fido finds the cookie in the box, we're throwing more cookies in there, cookie, and then we're done throwing cookies in there, and Fido won't leave the box, and he's pushing the box around. We always say, if the dog's right, there's probably a cookie under the flap. There's probably a cookie somewhere. So, yeah.
And then just to continue on, so then you pair with the odor, and then you kind of take the pairing out, and then you always pair on top of when they find the treat. And you'll see that in the demo we do. So that right now there's just odor out, and there's a ton of odor out here, which this is going to go away, but the dogs are going to hit this room and go, odor.
Everywhere,
It's
yeah,
been
they
sitting
are.
out here
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
long period of time. So this will be interesting. So now we're going to have to say, no, it's find the source of odor. There's
Because
odor
this
all over
source
the
is
whole
going to
room.
go away.
Right. So as I talked a little bit about the nose anatomy of the dog, I had a little diagram that you'll see kind of later. So they're about 1,000 times more sensitive than we are. We have about 5 million receptors in our nose and our capabilities in our brain, and they have 220 million receptors. They also have a completely different, we just kind of have a channel that goes up through our nose. It's pretty much round like this, if you were going to say like your cells, as theirs are kind of intertwined like this. So it's called turbid bones, and they actually have bones that zigzag up and down. So just like our intestines are lined with cilia, it's almost like their nose is lined with that. So you have an epithelial layer. So as the dog scents up and down, it actually goes through a couple times. So they kind of shuffle the scent in their nose and almost waft it in there, and kind of waft the odor in there, so they can get it through. So they can they actually distinguish every single chemical. So when we start to do mixtures of odors like birch and anise together, to one Q-tip or a couple Q-tips of each, we kind of smell blandness, and and they smell, oh, you have 2 Q-tips of birch and 1 Q-tip of anise, but your Q-tip of anise has more concentration on it because it has more odor on it, and your birch, well, so the chemical concentrations they can tell. They smell chocolate chip cookies, they smell chocolate, flour, sugar, salt. They smell all the different ingredients. So you could say they can smell the paint on the walls when they come through the door, but it's not important to them until we've paired it with something. So you haven't classically conditioned it to be important for them, and that's what we developed with this. So being said, you could pair with anything you want. You could find your cell phone, you could find your keys. But our other thing is that you have a responsibility that odor, once you do that, is that you're going to reward 100% of the time when they find it. So whatever you're going to create is what you're going to get. So we use odors that are pretty much not seen in nature, but every once in a while in the forums you'll hear something funny that says, this birch tree that just popped out while we were hiking and I didn't have any treats on me, and or something like that. Or I had gotten this new aromatherapy, and lo and behold, it has spearmint in it, which is kind of close. There's a simple green that found that has a natural ingredient that has some spearmint in it too, and so we were doing a clear room, and the dog's like, maybe it's the closest thing to what you're looking for, not really, but maybe. So that kind of thing. And basically, sniffing for dogs is channeled. So you go through the channels and things like that. It goes up through the braining or up through the nose, and it goes into the brain. It goes into their hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is linked to your sexual and social behaviors, so it becomes very predatory for them. So it just gets it's where you kind of have all your different prey drives, your predatory drive, different things. So the things that you want to get and will, and so it channels much deeper for them than it does. It's very emotionally tied for them.
It's tied to survival, really.
Yeah. If you can't smell and you can't sniff it out, you're going to die. So if you want to promote, if you want to keep getting things, they don't know that they're going to get food every single day. They don't know that it's going to happen. So this is their way to survive. It's first and foremost, it's in their instinct that they're going to have to survive on their own or find the food on their own. So, when the goldfish drops on the floor and they're not really hungry, they're still going to eat it. So chase it down.
I mean, if you think about it, what we're really talking about is like dogs back when they were wild, they still have those same attributes even though they're domesticated now. So we really, Nosework can really bring that out in the dog.
Every dog is individual. Every dog searches differently. Our methods are usually the same, but there's different nuances and different things to get them started, and also the timing to make that happen a little faster. So your timing on when you reward, your timing on when you get the treat, when you can stop pairing, when you don't need to pair, what kind of alert is the dog going to do, and
Or if you ever stop pairing.
Or
Some
if you ever
people
stop
pair
pairing.
right up until they're, they pair all the time when they're not in a trial.
You can continue pairing for the rest. I mean, it'll be great for the dog, right? So it's a sport for the dog. So if the dog gets a cookie or every single time it finds birch, it self-rewards right there. Hey, that's the greatest thing ever. And then getting a little bit into the alerts. So alerts look really snazzy. They look really nice. And detection dog handlers have to have an alert because they have to tell a jury that the dog did its behavior of alerting. So when the dog finds, I can't use pot because that's almost legal. When the dog finds cocaine, it does a change of behavior, and then this is all documented, and then it finds it and sources it, and then it sits, or it barks, or it downs, or it does some kind of behavior. And so you can tell the jury and testify to the jury that your dog did do this, so then you could search the car. Our dogs don't need to do that. So our dogs have a change of behavior, and then we let the dogs naturally kind of come up with their own alert system. So I call it a frustration behavior. Basically, to get to odor, it wasn't paired, you were late, and they say, hey, what are you doing? You're sleeping on the job. You're supposed to give me a treat now. And that becomes a frustration behavior that they're going to show to alert you to odor. So mine is what we're going to see in the demo is mine's either he paws or usually his nose touch to where the odor is and come back out and look at me and nose touch it.
Yeah, my young dog, I've been working actually to help her really stick her nose to the odor. One of the things about the professional dogs too is that, all the dog has to do is sit by the car and do his trained behavior, and the cop takes over the car and tears it apart. I mean, the dog doesn't have to pinpoint it. Our dogs have to pinpoint it if they can. Okay, if they can't, there are what we call inaccessible hides. But if they can get to it, they have to get to it. And the alert is what we say, in competition, we say alert, which is telling the judge, I'm saying that my dog's saying that he's on it. In the cop situation, the dog is saying, doing a behavior that was specifically trained and is not completely universal, but like a lot of dogs sit, a few dogs down. But, my old guy, he just looks back at me, well, where are you? You didn't bring the cookies. Yeah, he developed that behavior after I had been feeding him many hides for many months, and then I just hung back once, and he's like, well, where are you? Some dogs might go, I'll get it myself. It just, again, it depends on the dog, and we let that evolve versus professional detection dogs. Usually that's the very first thing they train is the alert. So that's it.
And partially is because you have such a high motivator that they've already been trained to, like the ball. They'll jump out of the 3-story building for that ball. So pet dogs don't usually have that high of a motivator. Even like steak is kind of like, I had breakfast this morning. It's good and all, but kind of a thing. So you have to find a motivator to get your dog to start working, and then you have to kind of develop that. And sometimes halfway through they're like, nah, I'm tired of chicken. I want to go to salmon. Something like that you kind of find.
Remember, no socializing.
Sort of pause at the threshold.
Get groceries.
So she's checking all the different places for interest and then also searching. Now she's trying to search for where she can catch odor.
She has caught odor. There's a lot of distractions in here. Yay, girly, what a good girl you are. Look at you, what a good puppy. Slow, good girl. So she has started offering this behavior on low hides if I withhold the treat until she puts her nose right back on it again. Sure is put out by the National Association, and then I've got my information in red on the back, but we're going to tell you about how to get involved before we're done. So Kristina's trying to keep a little movement going, but also be pretty benign in terms of her knowledge of where the hide is, so that he's searching without any cues from her.
Good boy.
Good boy. He whips his head around right away to tell her. Good boy. Yeah, boy. That was nice. So he really stuck his nose on there for several moments.
That was a good shot. You just gave me a joke.
Yes.